Hey friends, welcome back. So today we're going to be declaring victory and wrapping up this EP vlog series because as of this morning, you should be able to stream the full EP, which I'm calling Tales from the Expanding Universe, on any of your major streaming platforms. It's on Bandcamp, it's on my YouTube here, and I also went ahead and did a supercut version of the 7 live performances that I made along the way. So I will throw all those links down below if you guys want to check them out. And then we're going to jump into a couple little segments that are like rating my own EP, and then some stuff that I learned along the way or was reminded of as I was working through this project. So stick around. Okay, so in terms of rating the EP, I thought that might be more fun if I included some opinions that were not my own. So I reached out to a couple of my buddies, Evan and Shane, and kind of asked them a few questions. So I'm going to go through 4 questions here. I'm going to give you their answers, and then I'll give my answer, plus any little explanations that they included. And if you guys want to check out either and or both versions and throw your answers below, it'd be fun to hear what other people think as well. So the first question that I had written down was, what song was your favorite or most successful within the set of limitations? So Evan's answer there was either Escape Velocity or Moon Bells. And then Shane said his favorite was Moon Bells, track 3, because, quote unquote, I'm a sucker for those well-produced soundscapes, and there's an amazing groove in both versions. All right, so both Evan and Shane doubling up on Moon Bells. I gotta say, for this one, I think I'm gonna differ in terms of what I thought was the most successful. I'm gonna go with Onward Upward, which is the final song. I just feel like the energy of this one ended up really where I wanted it to be. Starts out with just a big drum fill into a big bass riff, and then there's some cool guitar harmonies, and I really like the way that the kind of synth arpeggios transition into the outro solo section, which I also thought was just some of the better playing that I recorded on this whole EP. So I'm going with Onward Upward for most successful song. Okay, next question was, which song did you find to be the least memorable from the bunch? Evan said Fanfare for the Expanding Universe, so the opening track. Shane went with Scavengers, which is track 6. And then I went with Drifting Further, which is track 4. So for me on that one, I felt like the melodic themes were just not very strong. I think the guitar solo came out pretty well, but that's kind of the most memorable part of that song, which is not a great attribute in my opinion. I think some of the other melodies are like generic enough to be a little bit forgettable. So I'm gonna go with Drifting Further for least memorable from the bunch. Okay, next question that I'd asked was, which song do you think improved the most between the initial video performance and the final EP mix? So Evan's version for that one was Moon Bells, because the live version was quote-unquote lacking some sauce. Then Shane said that the most improved was Escape Velocity because the original version suffered from some tuning issues and a lack of reverb gooiness. Also, the guitar solo got substantially more shreddier. And then my version, I'm going to agree with Shane on that one. I'm going to go with Escape Velocity, which is track 2. Something was not quite in tune during that initial version, and I also played it pretty safe on the initial solo because I was trying to get it all in one take, and I did not want to have to go back and play the whole 3 minutes of it again because I botched the solo at the end. And the last question that I asked everybody was kind of what is your overall rating from 1 to 10 in terms of the final product being musically engaging while respecting the limitations that I had set. So Evan went with 8.5 out of 10. Some of his critiques were there was some sameness to a lot of the tones and timbres, and I could have maybe made more interesting use of the droning space between the songs. But then on the prose side, the collection feels cohesive, the narrative moves along nicely, and those guitars do be shredding. Shane says 8.2 overall, so pretty close. He said it was overall really fun to listen to both versions, bodes well for content on the horizon. And then myself, I think I'm going to basically go with my friends on this one. I'm going to go solid 8. I feel like I succeeded at kind of the limitations I set out with. That being said, I didn't drastically exceed my own expectations, so I feel like going with a solid B on this one, like 8 out of 10. So yeah, if you guys have opinions that you want to leave on any of those questions, I would love to hear them. Throw them in the chat below. So I figured I'd wrap this video up with just some of my own reflections on things that I either learned or that I was reminded of throughout the making of this series, and maybe some of the stuff is relatable to you other creative folks out there. So first thing I wanted to comment on was I think I learned things best by just doing them. I had never made any video content before I jumped into this EP vlog series, and I think I learned a ton. I mean, obviously there's a ton of stuff to be critiqued, there's a ton of stuff to get better at, but I think that just jumping in and doing stuff helps you develop that awareness of like, what are the hard parts, what stuff could I get better at, a lot faster than just reading about something and kind of armchair quarterbacking it. So I'm glad I just jumped in and started doing it. I think restrictions can be really helpful. I think that kind of putting myself in a little bit of a box musically forced me to make some different decisions than I might have made otherwise, and that probably in the future, those are areas that my brain will see like different creative paths forward, having kind of gone through this experience and had to solve some of those problems in a different way than I might have previously. Next thing I wanted to mention was that I think I'm better off not overthinking and overworking my ideas. My previous album, I spent about 2 years making 8 songs, and this EP, I spent about 7 months making 7 songs. And while the songs are shorter, I think that the overall quality is pretty similar across both. So I think, yeah, I just learned that on that album experience, I spent a lot of time going back and forth on the same 1 or 2 decisions that probably didn't make that big of a difference. Versus on this EP, I really just tried to keep moving, and I really was wanting to get it done by the end of the year. So that kind of gave me a deadline to hit, and I think that kept me from, overthinking and overworking my ideas, which is ultimately for the better, I'm going to say. And then my last point that I wanted to mention is just that overall, I think YouTube has been a pretty solid experience. I've gotten way more engagement on YouTube than I have on any social or streaming platforms for my music, so that definitely feels like a better path forward. I don't know if I'll do this exact same EP vlog format again, but it was certainly fun jumping into it, and I expect to put more stuff on this channel. So if you guys have enjoyed anything you've seen here, hang around, and I'll see you next time.